October 8th, 1918. Argonne Forest, France. World War I. Corporal Alvin York, a 30-year-old farmer from the mountains of Tennessee, crouched in a shell crater watching German machine guns slaughter his patrol. Half his unit was already dead or wounded. The survivors were pinned down, unable to move forward or retreat. German bullets kicked up dirt all around them. Men were screaming. Officers were dead. Situation was hopeless. York had been in the army for exactly 1 year. Before that, he'd been a conscientious objector who had tried to avoid military service entirely. He was a devout Christian who believed killing was a sin. He'd only agreed to fight after his pastor convinced him that sometimes violence was necessary to stop greater evil. Now, watching his friends die in the mud of France, York made a decision that would change military history. He stood up, in the open, completely exposed, with German machine guns firing from multiple positions, just 40 yards away. And he started shooting back. For the next hour, Alvin York, using a rifle and a pistol, would kill 25 German soldiers, silence 35 machine gun nests, and force 132 German soldiers to surrender, by himself, without help, using marksmanship skills he'd learned, hunting turkeys in the Tennessee mountains. When it was over, York would walk out of the Argonne Forest, escorting 132 German prisoners, more prisoners than he had bullets left in his rifle. But this isn't just a WWII story. This is day 3 of our WWII series because Alvin York's legacy shaped World War II in ways most people never knew. After World I, York became the most famous American soldier alive. When World War II started, he was too old to fight, but he did something more important. He trained thousands of young American soldiers, teaching them the skills and mindset that would win battles across Europe and the Pacific. This is the complete story of Alvin York, the man who didn't want to fight, became the greatest American hero of WWII, then helped train the soldiers who would win World War II, the man who didn't want to fight. Alvin Cullum York was born December 13th, 1887, in Pall Mall, Tennessee, a tiny mountain community so remote it barely appeared on maps. Childhood in the mountains. York's childhood was poverty that makes Audie Murphy's Texas sharecropper upbringing look comfortable. Family lived in a 2-room log cabin, 11 people total. No electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing. Father was a blacksmith and subsistence farmer. Children worked from age 5, farming, hunting, chores. School was a luxury York attended sporadically, maybe 9 months total education. By age 9, York was hunting to help feed the family. If you didn't shoot accurately, your family went hungry. The hunting skills. York became an exceptional marksman out of pure necessity. Started hunting age 8, 9 with muzzle-loading rifle. Ammunition was expensive, couldn't waste shots. Hunted turkeys, squirrels, deer, anything edible. Developed ability to shoot moving targets at distance. Could hit turkey head at 100+ yards. Turkey head is about 3 inches. Never missed when it mattered. Missing meant family didn't eat. By his teenage years, York was known throughout the mountains as the best shot in the region. He won local shooting competitions regularly. The wild years, 1900s to 1910s. As a young man, York had a reputation as a drinker and brawler. Worked odd jobs, logging, farming, blacksmith. Spent money on whiskey and gambling. Got into frequent bar fights. He was strong and tough. Earned reputation as someone you didn't mess with. Mother worried he'd end up dead or in prison. The conversion. 1914. In 1914, York had a religious conversion experience. Close friend killed in bar fight. York realized he was headed down wrong path, attended revival meeting. Became born-again Christian, joined the Church of Christ in Christian Union, pacifist denomination. Gave up drinking, fighting, gambling completely, became Sunday school teacher, embraced pacifist beliefs, believed all killing was sin. By 1917, when America entered World War I, Alvin York was a devoted Christian pacifist who believed war was wrong. The draft, June 5th, 1917. When America instituted the draft in 1917, York received his draft notice. He was 29 years old, older than most draftees. York didn't want to go. His religious beliefs said killing was wrong. His church was pacifist. He believed Christians shouldn't participate in war. The exemption request. York filed for conscientious objector status, writing on his draft form, "Don't want to fight." He listed his church affiliation and explained his religious beliefs prohibited violence. His request was denied. The draft board ruled that his church wasn't on the official list of recognized pacifist denominations. Only Quakers, Mennonites, and a few others qualified. York was ordered to report for military service. The dilemma. York faced an impossible choice. 1. Refuse induction and go to federal prison. 2. Enter military service despite his beliefs. 3. Flee to the mountains and become a fugitive. York's mother begged him to refuse. His pastor supported his pacifist beliefs. His fiancée, Gracie, worried he'd be killed. But York also believed in duty and obedience to legitimate authority. The government had ordered him to serve. Romans 13 in the Bible says to obey governing authorities. York decided to report for service, hoping he could serve without killing anyone. Basic training, November 1917. York reported to Camp Gordon, Georgia for basic training. He was assigned to Company G, 328th Infantry Regiment, 82nd Division, the All-American Division. The problem? York was an exceptional soldier in every way except one. Physical training, excelled, strong from farm work. Marksmanship, absolutely dominant, best shooter in entire company. Discipline, perfect, followed all orders, but still morally opposed to killing. His company commander, Captain Edward Danforth, noticed York's skill and his conflict. A conversation that changed everything. Captain Danforth and Major George Buxton, battalion commander, spent hours talking with York about his beliefs, York's position. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." How can I reconcile that with war? Danforth and Buxton's response. They discussed scripture with York, Ecclesiastes 3:8, a time for war and a time for peace. Jesus praised the faith of a Roman centurion, soldier, without condemning his profession. Sometimes violence is necessary to stop greater evil. If good men refuse to fight, evil triumphs. The officers gave York a 10-day leave to go home and think about it. The decision. York spent those 10 days on a mountaintop near his home, praying and reading the Bible. He later described his internal struggle. I was worried clean through. I didn't want to go and kill, but I had been raised to believe in my country and obey its laws. I believed in the Bible, but I also believed in defending freedom and justice. I prayed and prayed, and finally I found peace. I realized that sometimes you have to fight to protect the innocent. Sometimes war is necessary to stop evil. God would forgive me for what I had to do. York returned to camp and told his commanders, I'm ready to fight. Deployment to France, May 1918. York's division shipped to France in May 1918. By this time, York had been promoted to corporal. He was recognized as the best marksman in the regiment. He'd fully committed to his role as a soldier, but he still prayed every day for forgiveness, for what he might have to do. Combat experience, summer 1918. York's unit saw limited action through summer 1918. Trench warfare in quiet sectors, patrol actions, artillery bombardments. York hadn't yet killed anyone in combat. The Meuse Argonne offensive, September 26, 1918. In late September 1918, American forces launched the Meuse Argonne offensive, the largest American military operation in WWII. 1.2 million American soldiers involved. Goal: break through German line in Argonne Forest, push Germans back toward Germany, help end the war. York's 82nd Division was assigned to attack through the Argonne Forest, dense woods filled with German defensive positions. The mission, October 8, 1918. York's company, Company G, received orders to advance through the forest and capture German positions on Hill 223, the patrol. York was part of a 17-man patrol led by Sergeant Bernard Early. Mission: attack German machine gun positions. Enemy strength: unknown but believed to be significant terrain. Dense forest, poor visibility, risk level extremely high. 7 a.m. The advance begins. The patrol moved through the forest. Visibility was maybe 20, 30 yards due to trees and undergrowth. 8 a.m. Contact. The patrol encountered German forces, not just a few soldiers, but a major defensive position with 35-plus machine guns and over 100 infantry. German machine guns opened fire. The patrol was caught in the open. Men fell immediately killed or wounded by the first burst of fire. Sergeant Early was hit and severely wounded. Other NCOs were killed. The patrol was leaderless, pinned down, and being slaughtered. York's decision, 8:15 a.m. York, along with 7 other soldiers who hadn't been hit yet, took cover in a shell crater. German machine guns were firing from multiple positions. They couldn't advance, couldn't retreat. York assessed the situation. Half the patrol already casualties. No leadership, officers and NCOs dead or wounded. Machine guns covering every avenue of escape. Going to die here unless someone does something. York made his decision. I'm going to take out those machine guns. The other 7 soldiers thought he was insane. But they also didn't have a better idea, the turkey shoot. 8:15 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. What happened next seemed impossible, but it's all documented in official records, witness statements, and York's own account. Phase 1, flanking movement. York spotted a small ridge that provided slight cover and a different angle on the German positions. He told the other soldiers, "Cover me." York crawled up the ridge using every bit of cover. The Germans were focused on the main American position and didn't see him flanking. York reached a position about 40 yards from German machine gun nests, close enough to shoot accurately, far enough that they couldn't immediately pinpoint his location. Phase 2, opening fire. York began shooting German machine gunners with his rifle, M1917 Enfield .30 .06 caliber. His hunting experience paid off. He aimed for the head, like shooting turkeys. He picked targets, methodically gunners first, then officers. He didn't waste shots, one shot, one kill. He used available cover between shots. German soldiers started falling. But here's where York's hunting skills really mattered. When hunting turkeys in a flock, if you shoot the closest turkey first, the others scatter. But if you shoot the farthest turkey first, the others don't notice immediately because the shot sound is behind them. York applied this principle to German soldiers. He shot the soldiers in the back of the formation first, worked his way forward. The soldiers in front didn't realize their comrades behind them were being killed. Phase 3, German response. The Germans realized they were being attacked from the flank. Machine guns swiveled toward York's position. York changed position constantly, shoot, move, never staying in one spot long enough for the Germans to zero in on him. Phase 4, the charge. A German officer, Major Paul Vollmer, realized his machine gun positions were being decimated by one man. He ordered a group of German soldiers to fix bayonets and charge York's position. 6 German soldiers charged at York. York had run out of rifle ammunition. The M1917 held 5 rounds, and he'd fired all of them. He switched to his .45 caliber Colt pistol. York later described what happened. Those Germans were running at me yelling. I had my pistol out, and I just shot them one at a time as they came. But I started with the last man in line and worked forward, same as shooting turkeys. If you shoot the first one, the others scatter. If you shoot the last one, the others keep coming because they don't know he's down. I shot the 6th man first, then the 5th, then the 4th. The first 3 didn't realize the others were down until I shot them too. York killed all 6 charging Germans with his pistol. 6 shots, 6 kills, in under 10 seconds. Phase 5, the surrender. Major Vollmer, watching this display of marksmanship, realized his position was hopeless. This one American had killed or wounded over 25 of his men. His machine gun positions were falling silent. His charge had failed. Vollmer called out in English, "Don't shoot, we surrender." York, still pointing his pistol at German positions, yelled back, "Then come out with your hands up, all of you." German soldiers began emerging from their positions, hands raised, weapons discarded. York couldn't believe what he was seeing. He'd expected maybe a dozen prisoners, but they kept coming, and coming, and coming, the count. When the Germans finished surrendering, 132 German soldiers, including several officers, 35 machine guns captured Major Vollmer among the prisoners. York had captured more prisoners than he had bullets left. The march back 9:30 a.m. York now faced a new problem. How to get 132 German prisoners back to American lines with only 7 other Americans, the survivors from his patrol. York organized it brilliantly, put German officers at the front of the column. York walked behind with his pistol pointed at the officers, told the German officers, "You march these men back to American lines. If anyone tries to escape or attack, I shoot you first." The German officers, terrified of this American who'd killed 25 plus of their men, complied. The journey. On the way back to American lines, the column encountered more German positions. York's solution? He forced the German officers to order those positions to surrender too. By the time York reached American lines, he'd captured additional prisoners. Final count, 132 German POWs. The reaction. When York marched into the American position with 132 German prisoners, his brigade commander, Brigadier General Julian Lindsay, couldn't believe it. "How many prisoners did you capture, Corporal?" York. 132, sir. Lindsay. "How many men were with you?" York. 7 others, sir. But they didn't help much with the capture. That was mostly me. Lindsay walked down the line of prisoners, counting. then walked back to York. Corporal York, this is the greatest thing accomplished by any private soldier of all the armies of Europe. Investigation. The army initially didn't believe York's account. One man capturing 132 Germans and killing 25 seemed impossible. They sent officers to investigate, interviewed the 7 American survivors, confirmed York's story, interrogated German prisoners, confirmed York's kills and capture, walked the battlefield, found 25+ dead German soldiers where York said he shot them, interviewed Major Vollmer, confirmed York's marksmanship was unbelievable. Everything checked out. York had done exactly what he claimed. A count. Official tally of York's 1-hour action, 25 German soldiers killed, confirmed. Likely 30, 35 total killed. Some bodies couldn't be confirmed. 132 German soldiers captured 35 machine gun nests, silenced 0 American casualties during York's action. The earlier casualties were before York's attack. The awards? For his actions on October 8, 1918, Alvin York received American, Medal of Honor, highest U.S. military award, Distinguished Service Cross, numerous other medals, French Croix de Guerre, Legion of Honor, Italian, Croce di Guerra. York became the most decorated American soldier of World War I. Coming home, May 1919, York returned to the United States in May 1919. He was immediately famous, newspapers had covered his story, and he was treated as a national hero. The parade. New York City gave York a massive ticker tape parade. Hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets. York was overwhelmed. He'd gone from an obscure Tennessee farmer to the most famous soldier in America. The offers. York received numerous offers. Vaudeville wanted to pay him $10, 000 plus per week to appear on stage. Movie studios wanted to make films about him. Companies wanted to use his name for endorsements. He could have become wealthy. York's response. York turned down everything that would profit from his war service. I ain't proud of what I'd done in the war. I had to do it to protect my buddies and stop evil, but I ain't going to profit from killing men. That would be sinful. He accepted only one thing. Tennessee gave him a farm, 385 acres, and a house. York returned to Pall Mall, married his fiancée Gracie, and went back to farming. Life between the wars, 1919 to 1941. York spent the next 20 years living quietly, farmed his land, raised 8 children, founded the Alvin C. York Agricultural Institute, a school for mountain children, occasionally gave speeches about his war service, but didn't profit, lived modestly despite his fame. Financial struggles. York struggled financially. The farm wasn't very profitable. He'd taken loans to build his school. The Great Depression hurt everyone in Tennessee. By the late 1930s, York was in debt. The movie, 1941. In 1940, producer Jesse Lasky approached York about making a movie about his WWII service. York had refused similar offers for 20 years, but this time was different. War was coming again. York believed a movie about his service might help prepare Americans for what was ahead. York agreed with conditions. Gary Cooper must play him. Cooper won Oscar for the role. The movie must show his religious struggle. Honestly, profits would go toward paying off his debts and funding his school. Sergeant York premiered in July 1941 and became one of the highest-grossing films of the year. It reminded Americans of what their soldiers could accomplish with courage and skill. Watul York's role. When World War II began, Alvin York was 54 years old, too old for combat, but he contributed to the war effort in crucial ways. 1. Recruiting and morale. York traveled across America giving speeches, encouraged young men to enlist, explained why fighting Nazi Germany was necessary, shared his own journey from pacifist to soldier, reminded Americans that even those opposed to war sometimes must fight to stop evil. His speeches were powerful because he'd struggled with the same questions young men were asking. How can killing be right? York's answer, it ain't right, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you have to fight evil to protect the innocent. God will forgive us for what we must do. 2. Training soldiers. York visited training camps and shared lessons from his combat experience. Marksmanship emphasized accuracy over volume of fire. 1 shot, 1 kill, don't waste ammunition. Taught techniques for shooting moving targets, stressed importance of staying calm under fire. Tactical thinking. Use terrain for cover. Flank when possible, don't attack head-on. Think like a hunter, not just a soldier. Initiative and quick decision-making win battles. Mental preparation. Overcome fear through training and faith. Your buddies depend on you. Don't let them down. The enemy is trying to kill you. Kill him first. Make peace with what you have to do. Then do it without hesitation. 3. Bond sales. Like John Basilone, York participated in war bond tours, helping raise millions for the war effort. 4. Symbolic importance. York represented something important to WWII soldiers, proof that Americans could fight and win against seemingly impossible odds. His story from WWII, one man defeating 132 Germans, inspired soldiers facing their own impossible situations in World War II. Soldiers he influenced. Many WWII soldiers later credited York's story with inspiring them. Audie Murphy read about York as a teenager. Numerous Medal of Honor recipients mentioned York as an inspiration. Officers taught York's principles in training. The 82nd Airborne Division, York's WWII unit, used his legacy to build esprit de corps, post-WWII life. After WWII, York returned to Tennessee. He continued running his agricultural school, farming, raising his family, occasional public appearances. Health decline. York's health deteriorated in the 1950s. Stroke in 1954 left him partially paralyzed. Confined to bed for final years, financial struggles continued, medical bills. Death September 2nd, 1964. Alvin York died on September 2nd, 1964 at age 76. He was buried with full military honors in Pall Mall, Tennessee. President Lyndon Johnson issued a statement. Alvin York was more than a great soldier. He was a great American who showed us that sometimes the hardest battles are fought within ourselves, and that doing what's right is more important than doing what's easy. The legacy. Alvin York's legacy extends far beyond his October 8, 1918 action. 1. Most famous American soldier of the war. Demonstrated American fighting effectiveness. Proved individual initiative could change battles. Interwar period. Founded school that educated thousands of mountain children. Showed that fame and humility could coexist. Lived his values even when it cost him financially. WWII. Inspired soldiers through his example. Helped train troops who would fight in Europe and Pacific. Reminded Americans why fighting evil is sometimes necessary. His WWII legacy motivated WWII soldiers. Modern military. Every sniper learns York's story. One shot, one kill, traces partly to York's example. The 82nd Airborne honors York as a foundational hero. Military leadership courses still study his tactical decisions. The numbers. October 8th, 1918. One day. 25 German soldiers killed. Confirmed. 132 German soldiers captured 35 machine guns. Silenced 1 hour of combat. 7 American survivors. 8, including York. Total WWII service. Entered service, June 1917. Combat service, May-November 1918. Rank achieved, Sergeant Awards, Medal of Honor, DSC, and multiple foreign decorations. 122 contribution, training, thousands of soldiers influenced recruiting. Speeches across America bonds. Millions raised morale, incalculable impact. The questions York's story raises. 1. Can a pacifist become a warrior? York proved yes, but only when convinced the cause was just. His internal struggle made him a more effective soldier because he never took killing lightly. 2. Can one man change a battle? York proved yes. Individual initiative and skill can have strategic impact. His capture of 132 Germans helped break German defensive lines. 3. Does fame require exploitation? York proved no. He remained humble and refused to profit from his war service for 20-plus years. He only accepted the movie deal to help his school and warn Americans about the coming war. 4. Can soldiers from one war help win the next? York proved yes. His training, speeches, and example helped prepare WWII soldiers psychologically and tactically. The comparison to WWII heroes. York bridges WWII and WWII. Like Audie Murphy, came from poverty, became exceptional marksman through necessity, small-town background, humility despite fame. Like John Basilone. Could have avoided further service, but chose to help. Refused to profit from fame, dedicated to training and inspiring other soldiers, died relatively young. 64 versus Basilone's 28. Unlike both, struggled with moral questions before fighting longer to come to terms with killing, lived long enough to see his legacy influence the next war, October 8, 1918. Argonne Forest. 1 man, 1 rifle, 1 pistol. 132 German prisoners. 25 Germans killed. 35 machine guns silenced. The man who didn't want to fight became the greatest American soldier of WWII and spent WWII teaching the next generation how to win. That's Alvin York, a conscientious objector who became a warrior who became a teacher, the teacher who helped win 2 world wars, from don't want to fight to capturing 132 Germans. From famous hero to humble farmer. From WWII legend to WWII inspiration. That's the power of one man who overcame his doubts, did his duty, and never forgot where he came from.